Hey, everybody, it's Blasted or Stash. It's Sunday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. It is episode 184. I had to look at my notes, remember which episode we're on. 184. I can't believe we've been doing it for this freaking long.
184.
We were live yesterday. We were talking about G.I. Joes, our top 10 G.I. Joes, the vehicles and the TV show, the movies. It was a good time. I think it's something we're going to try to continue on. Take a look back at some other 80s toys and just talk about them on there. So definitely take a look and watch out for that. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe and that little bell button so you know when we're going live. Because sometimes with Mike's here, we don't know when we're going live. It's up to him. So definitely check that out. And, you know, if you want to support us over on Patreon, you can get a chance to win some cool books like this Dave Stevens Vampirella cover. Do I have any other? I don't think I have any more of them right now. But definitely have books every month we're giving away. I'm giving away some T-shirts, too. I got a few of those coming. They're going to be headed out to people who support us on Patreon. And thinking of T-shirts, if you want to go buy one, you can go over to Teespring. You can pick up the Pocan Joe. Drew was wrong about X-Men. Changed my mind. Although I think it's kind of changed a little bit now that X-Men has taken a right turn into better storyline, I think.
So I still hate it.
The technical difficulties or the Thunderlust shirt. And
by the way, I need to say I got my shirts in the other day. Mm-hmm. I got 2 T-shirts and a sweatshirt, and I don't wear T-shirts and I don't wear sweatshirts. But I'm going to tell you right now, the quality of these shirts, I'm digging them. Like it's a quality shirt. It's not a garbage shirt. I was actually surprised by it.
Being white, I don't wear it for the showtime or wear it out. I don't wear it working on my car. That's for sure. Definitely get it a little greasy. Where was I? I was talking about something. Professionalism. A lot of love. Oh, that's what it was. Hey, we were gonna go to Emerald City Comic Con, but we still are going to Seattle. Where I'm flying out Wednesday night. Joe's going to be there Wednesday. We're going to spend a weekend. I think digging around long boxes in the store, since we're not going to be able to do any at the con. We're going to be perusing town, going to a few different
boxes, bars, museums, cocaine, hookers, bad decisions. We're going to do it all. If you want to be part of that, you need to let us know you're going.
Yeah, no old folks' homes, though. We're not allowed to go there.
No old folks' homes.
No.
You might die.
You might die. So those of you who still have that flight to Seattle or still going to Seattle because you can't get your money back and might as well go anyhow, definitely look us up, send us a message either on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, any of that stuff. So let us know you're going to be there. We'll get together, have some dinner, have some drinks, and have some fun. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the books this week.
Real quick, we got Knocks Out Comics. He just jumped in. He thinks we're funny. He's laughing his ass off. Out. I don't know. There's double O in there. We'll work with you, buddy.
Something. You're doing something out there. Yeah, I don't know how you see that chat before I do, man.
Because I also have the actual show up on my.
Oh, do you? Okay. Well, that's why you.
That's how I do that. That's how I roll.
Okay. You want to jump in with your first book this week, Joe?
Okay, so I'm going to start off a little weird. Usually I try to stay off with some of the more mainstream stuff, but I got to be honest. I got to pull something that's a little off topic tonight, and I got to go with this Mercy book. Did you read this?
I did read Mercy. Mercy. Lord of Mercy.
Yeah. This thing is great. I'm totally, if you haven't read this, you need to go get this. This is good. It starts off kind of creepy. Right? There's a lot of creepiness going on. There's a mystery. There's some sort of monster or something. We don't quite know because we're building suspense. It's very suspenseful. We have a lady that's involved that needs to go back to a town that she kind of doesn't want to go back to it, but things need to happen. By the way, don't get comic book confused. This is not a kid's book. There's a 3-way that goes on in here, and it's quite grotesque. We have strong women leads in here, and they're doing it the right way. They're not, I'm Captain Marvel, and I'm good at everything. Like, legitimately, there are people with faults in here, and it's just suspenseful. It's not a superhero story, so if your comic books are nothing but superhero stories, probably not the book for you. But if you like a little suspense and possible horror that's about to happen, I would definitely be picking this up. Oh, my God, this was good.
Yeah, this is definitely good too. If you've ever read any of other Mirka Andolfo's books, you kind of know what you're getting into a little bit. But this is far different than even Unnatural. You know, the pig with the magic or the what about with the wolf and stuff. So this is actually pretty good. We don't know if they're vampire zombies or kind of like leaning that way. They're resurrected. They eat blood or they eat flesh. We don't know.
I'm okay with not knowing. Like, people get upset about that, but I'm like, your first issue shouldn't have to explain everything and you make a decision off of it. And I think the writer's being very smart about this.
Yeah, because she's not, the main. Well, I don't know. There are a couple main characters. We have the one human character, which is Lady Swanson. She's a very important person that lives in this town. And we have the vampire or zombie or whatever she is. And she seems like she's hesitant to even do this. She's not showing human emotions. She's smiling, but she's not smiling with her eyes. She hates acting. She doesn't want to do it. The Lady Swanson character is badass because she's sitting there at the funeral for that zombie lady. I think that's who it is. And some of the guys are like, making fun of her and stuff like that. Later on, she brings a little knuckles around and teaches them a lesson. And she has no problem doing that at all. And somehow that Lady Swanson has a connection to whatever's going on.
I think she has more of a connection of what happened in the mines. I don't think it's in the same town.
No, I don't think it's the same town either, but she has some kind of connection because she has the strange visions or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of leaves off. The zombie lady kind of gets to this town she's supposed to be in, and they're talking about some good food or whatever. This is the local cuisine. But definitely it is good, and it's probably one of my favorite Mirka Andolfo's titles that she's put out that I've read. So it's definitely a stash for me as well.
Yeah. So and mind you, all stashes and blasts are temporary to the next issue. I just want to put that disclaimer out there.
And we're talking about blasting or stashing. If you're in the chat and you read any of these books we're talking about, let us know what you thought. Were they a good book? Was it a bad book? Are we totally off base on something? Let us know in the chat.
Also, if you've read something and you think we might have it, throw it in the chat as well. We'll do. You don't want it ended up in the lightning round because we all know what happens in the lightning round. So definitely throw it in the chat for us. We're happy to talk about it right now. Let's have some conversation going.
Okay, I want to talk about another book that I know you read too. Where is it? There it is. And I picked up. The reason I picked this up because I know you pick it up. These particular covers, the Scotty Young cover. This was not on my normal pull list. But I thought, you know what? I need another Marvel book because I only had two Marvel books that I read this week.
I pick up the Scotty Young books because my wife only collects Scotty Young covers. That's it. She doesn't read the book. She just likes the covers. So, yeah.
This was, let me say, Harry Potter much? It had a lot of Harry Potter kind of ties to it. The girl who has powers, but she doesn't know how to control them. There's a person taking her to the school for wizardry or magic. So, she has these powers. Her dog gets hit. She revives her dog, but she learns that magic has the pro and con to it. Use your magic. You take she has pain because she healed the dog. Now, a lot of new first appearances in this book. I'm not sure if they're all. But we have, tons. I had to write them all down, all the characters that are in this book.
Yeah, let's not even go down that road.
But I tell you what, my favorite character of these ones is Doyle Dormammu, because he's like, I thought he was a headless horseman at first, just because of the way he looks. He's kind of got like a pumpkin looking head. But he's very much like, he shows up and the two Asgardian boys start to attack him. He's like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. Okay, I'll give you some of that. And he starts throwing it back at him. And then they get split up into different rooms, and they're not ruined with the people necessarily they're comfortable. Like the two brothers from Asgard are not ruined. One's ruined with Doyle and an Asgard kid. We see that the kind of like back and forth there, the different personalities. And then, of course, at the end, you get the big fight where the kids just kind of jump in and have to fight and help Doctor Strange. I wasn't going to pick this up, but it wasn't too bad. I liked it. Like I said, kind of by Harry Potter. A lot of characters going into it. A lot of backstories we're probably going to go through. And the other character I think I liked was Despair. She's kind of like Doyle a little bit, kind of like, I know your secrets, but that's I'm not going to tell anybody. That's for me to hold on to. That's for me to deal with. So but Strange Academy was better than I thought it was going to be, so it's definitely a stash for me too.
So it's good. Like I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it's my stash of the week. It's good because it's following a good formula that we should already be kind of used to. Not just Harry Potter, but like I'll go ahead and say 75% of the shows on the CW right now that deal with a group of kids with very different backgrounds. They somehow or another come together and are able to work, even though there's some internal conflict going on, but they're able to come together for the existential conflict that is happening. And that's a good story. I think anybody can get on board with that kind of story because we like to see group dynamics. We like to see people working together, but we also want that realistic that, hey, two people, just because they're able to accomplish something, there should be some personal problems at some point because people hate each other. We're horrible things. We really are. And this book kind of brought that out. So it's not an unusual dynamic by no means whatsoever. But I did like it. I did like how creative they were because we knew that they were going to pull Marvel kids and they were basically just going to do the sons and daughters of. And then there's these couple of orphan kids that just don't fit into the mix, and now they got to find their role. Okay, sure. What's the sustainability of something like this? Not long. This is a gimmick that won't last very long, so enjoy it while it's running because you can't sustain this. They're not taking over later properties. Does that make sense? Like this isn't the new generation our kids are going to grow up with. This is something that's going to happen. It's going to be cool. And then when they find out who the most popular ones are, those are the ones that are going to be mainstream into other comic book lore and things like that. That's really the point of this kind of book. But all in all, I enjoyed reading it. It was funny. It was action-packed. I didn't get browbeaten or lectured at. Which was awesome. Plus, I got to see characters that I genuinely like that I don't get to see a whole lot of, like Brother Voodoo. Love Brother. I had his first appearance and his first run. Love Brother Voodoo. I'm glad to see that he's running the school. I'm glad that they're bringing in some older characters too to kind of help train and teach these kids. I didn't like the fact that Dr. Strange got into some trouble and basically pulled an Xavier and made all the kids on their first day fight his battle for him. That's straight X-Men bully BS. But it happened. But it was still cool, and I really think they have a very dynamic cast of characters. But again, sustainability, I just don't think it can sustain.
Do you have one or two of those characters in mind? Do you think that would be that front runner that would go out into other titles?
So I think the big conflict would be Damanu's child to see if he goes evil or not. That's a good concept. I could see that happening. The Frost Giant chick, done. That she's just here for this book. Despair, just here for the book. The new character that we were introduced to that saved the dog. I think they're going to try to do something with her. We'll see what that turns into. And if I had to go out on a limb, the swamp monster, the little blue swamp monster guy.
Cough.
I only think he'll become something at some point because I think they're going to try to do a swamp thing with him where we just don't understand his powers. And eventually we'll find out him being he's attached to the green or something along those lines. So that's kind of my hideaway if I had to predict something. Real quick in the chat, we got Mango Bed. He's in the chat. It's good to see you. Knocks out. He's definitely going to check out Marcy. That's great. Double S is in the room. Our top fan. He says the art, the writing. Wow, what a comic book, Joey. I thought it was a good comic book. I really did, and I think this is one of those testing grounds where they're just going to kind of say, okay, what can we throw out there, and what can we keep, and what do we know is going to go away. So I'm going to enjoy the run for what it is, because if any of these characters do pop at some point, there's their first appearance right there.
Yeah. I was looking up trying to see if they had any other, if these characters were around anywhere else. I didn't see them. So, but being a number one, there's probably so many different variants, and who knows what's gonna got to pick up. Usually the ones that pick up are the ones right in the middle of the run with a whole bunch of new characters because there's usually not a higher print run. What is your next book, Joe?
Let's see. That was a Marvel. We did. Oh, let's go to a. Do you want to talk about Doctor Strange now, or not Doctor Strange?
Strange Adventures. Yeah, we can talk about that. You're going to know more about it than I will.
Okay, so for you that don't know, I am a huge Golden Age, early Silver Age collector. Like those are where my collections go. The money I make off auctions and different things that I do, they go to so I can buy and save for those collections. So I'm quite familiar with Strange Adventures. I'm very familiar with Adam Strange as well. And this is a horrible idea. They need to stop this now. They've kind of screwed this up, and I don't want anybody to. Even if you liked the comic book, you're justified. This was a decent comic book. I thought the flashback sequence was more interesting storyline than what was actually being portrayed. Tom King's doing his thing where he needs a mommy wife involved, and the man's middle-aged, and he goes through an existential crisis that he really can't control and be accused of things, and bad things are happening to him. Same thing he did in Batman. He's just following that same trope, and I wish he wasn't. And the sad thing is, I know Tom King's a good writer. Like, I have Tom King's runs, and I'm just like, some of his stuff is just awesome. And I don't know what's happening to him that he thinks that it's okay to put his personal life in comic books, maybe. I don't know. So if you don't know, if you didn't read the book, basically Adam Strange comes back from the wars in another world. We're going to keep this simple and brief, baseline. So he's in these wars in another world. Now, there's this thing that happens with Adam Strange where this Zeta beam shoots him back and forth, and it happens at periodic times. So at any given moment, he could be in this world or that world. That's kind of the deal there. So he needs to really get things done. That helped in the Silver Age comic book run with him to kind of help progress a story so they wouldn't have to explain so much. And that was the whole point of it. And it was freaking ingenious. Here, they kind of use it as this was something that kind of sort of happened, but it doesn't really make sense because now he's doing book signings. And somebody died that didn't like him. And it was like, so bad. So bad. And I was just like, if they would have taken the flashback scenes in this and they made that the storyline as the introduction, and then eventually made him come back home and go through the problems of a war, do the PTSD trope, hero coming home thing, I think he would have had a better story. But he's trying to explain who this character is and his current problem coming into it. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and spoil this at the end. So when I do this, know the spoil has happened. So we're going through the storyline. His wife is not the person from the comic book. It's just so bad. So as we're going through it, we find out he's been accused of a murder on social media. Like, that's enough to get you thrown in jail. Who cares? But it is in this book, apparently. So now we got to suffer through that. So now he goes to his buddy Batman. Batman's not going to investigate him. Batman has been saved by Adam Strange, not only in the golden, silver, bronze, copper ages, and recent modern ages. He can't keep a fair objective to it. So he calls up a buddy. Notice the symbol. It's Mr. Terrific. If you don't know who Mr. Terrific is, don't feel bad. Most people don't, because it's a garbage C-tier character that nobody ever focused on. He was kind of sort of in the Arrowverse, but it wasn't that important. And just like he was in most comic books. And Justice League Adventures, which is on Hulu right now, they have like one episode with him in it. And guess what? He's a douchebag in that. So nobody really cares about this character, but yet this is Tom King trying to force some obscure character that nobody cares about into the pathway of something that he doesn't totally understand and make it a bad story. Again, if we stuck with the flashback story, I think people would be running for this comic book. But instead, You wanted to degrade a hero, and you're a horrible person for it, Tom King. You're right there with Coates, and everybody knows how much I hate Coates. I hate that guy. So, thank you for ruining another character. What's your opinions on this, Huey?
Just like Double S, he says he's not too familiar with Adam Strange. I don't know if he's ever heard of this character. Is from a sci-fi TV show, Krypton. I never even watched that show. I just know he's, mainly a silver or gold age character. That's about my extent of knowledge about the character. What I think Tom King does good, this is not necessarily a good example of it. I mean, he likes to take, like you said, take this normal guy. Let's throw a real world problem at him. We had Mr. Miracle Run, which is really good. I like that. He's trying to escape death. That whole thing at the beginning of the book. So it's like, okay, we're gonna twist this character and make him more relatable, essentially, to some degree. And that's what he's doing here. He tried to do it. Batman, failed miserably. I think he did a good job on Visions. I haven't read that.
Okay.
But it's kind of hard reading into this book and not knowing a whole lot about Adam Strange. I'm probably going to go ahead and give it a go, just because I think he does really well with taking these B and C characters and making them relatable, making them out there in the mainstream for everybody else to see and get a little more information on that character.
So you're familiar with Mr. Terrific, though. You know who that is.
He's a black guy with a black face. Right? And didn't he have like a tattooed face?
Black guy with a black face. He's got a black T across his face.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, black T. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. I hate to say this, but black people can't wear blackface. It's already there.
Sorry. I wasn't trying to be racist there by any means. But I don't know a whole lot about that character either. I think he showed up in Deceased in a few pages, but ended up dying.
So Mr. Terrific's first appearance was in the mid 80s, when they were, and rightfully so, they were trying to open up comic books a little bit more. So they had this African American guy. Technically, he's one of in the DC comic book universe, he's one of the smartest men alive. Mm-hmm. He was in the Arrowverse, the African American there. There was a homosexual. He had the balls.
Yeah. Okay. I think so. Yeah.
That was Mr. Terrific.
Oh, okay.
Same concept, right? Same guy. Just homosexual there. Yeah, I don't know why, but it happens. So be it. Whatever. I never asked anybody's sexual preference before. It is what it is. So now they're running that. And I'm just like, I get it. Like, I get it. But is this really the best way to tell this story? Like, you had a great story. You had a great concept. Technically, the flashbacks would be considered a reprint or a reboot. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But, well, I'll ask you, and answer honestly in the chat. When you read this comic book, which was more interesting to you? His time on Earth or his time in the other world?
Well, the other world stuff is definitely more action really packed versus just what problems does he have mentally, or what is he going through personally? He has these fans that hate him or love him. People who are just rabid. I think it was a rabid fan that got killed, right? Isn't that what it was? Mm-hmm. I think. And so, yeah, that's not really interesting. Like I said, I'm probably going to go out and pick up the next couple issues and see where it's going to go and see if it grabs me a little bit more.
I'm going to follow this too, because I've always been I'm a huge Adam Strange fan. I can't even tell you. Like it goes Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, Adam Strange for me, right? Like in my sci-fi universe, right? Those are my top three. Notice Luke Skywalker's not in there, or any of the other guys. And technically, if I threw in a fourth one, it'd be Roger Kelly. But the fact that I make that reference, most people aren't going to know it because that's super golden age. But I always say the more flair on the spaceship, the better.
Now, I can definitely see Buck Rogers, not from the TV show, but from the old newspaper comic strips.
I'll go back to the old 10-cent comic where he had like a 3-page spread.
Buck Rogers did?
Yeah.
No, see, I didn't know any comics. I have it's a big yellow book. It's like all the newspaper prints from Buck Rogers. I have that. It was actually something my dad had as a kid, and he gave it to me. So, Okay, let's talk about the reason I named the show.
We've had some movement in the
We
chat.
do.
I'm not familiar with Adam Strange. The only time it was Krypton, you said that part. Knocks Out says we can't though. I'm assuming he's making a comment from our conversation. Sorry to get back to you on that, but
He's talking about the blackface thing that I
blackface.
yeah.
Probably. Okay.
But apparently I'm
Terrific has balls as weapons on the CD. Yes, yeah, he throws that the balls are the MacGuffin that can fix any problem, and it's annoying. Knocks Out. I haven't read it. You know what? I'll be honest, and I was kind of rough on this book. I'm not saying don't read it. Let me be clear on that. I'm stashing the book. I want to be clear on that. I'm stashing it. Because I'm interested. I want to see how this progresses. Like, I want to give King, and I hate to say it, I'm not even doing it for the comic book. I'm legitimately doing it for King because I know King can write. I know he can write. But after Batman and just the absolute, and I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of Mr. Miracle either. Like, I was like, oh, wow, PTSD, great.
yeah.
Yep, we hear about that all the time. I don't know why King is fixated on mental health all of a sudden, but that seems to be his little niche here lately, and he thinks he's doing good at it. And I'll be honest, I don't think he is. So let's see where this takes us, I guess, is the best. But to be honest, I'm just happy to see Adam Strange in a comic book again.
Did you see the name of the show, episode 184? What the name of it was?
No, I missed it. It popped up after.
It was Bernie versus Trump. That was the name of the episode.
Oh, you trying to get a start off YouTube?
So, and the reason I named it that was because of this one comic book, and that's all I could think about throughout the whole thing. So, it's Join the Future. You didn't pick this one up, right?
I didn't. Tell us about it.
So, this is by Aftershock Comic, and so here at the beginning, it's almost like an ad for these people here. They're saying, hello, and thanks for joining us. We'd like to take you a moment to welcome to our city and show you how the future has never been better. And they talk about that, and they talk about receive universal basic income, receive the best healthcare possible, receive all this other stuff. And so they're trying to get people to join, which is very much, the socialist kind of view on government is, okay, here, we're going to give you everything. And, all you have to do is join and be part of us. And so we have that group. And then we have this other group who are living on the outskirts. They're rough and tumble. They want nothing to do with the government. They're just out hunting and surviving and supplementing themselves. They're kind of the rednecks.
They're the rednecks.
And so then we have this big city who's actually putting these biological wolves out in order to drive off. You got more beer to drive off all of the wild game that's in the forest, so that people can't survive and can't hunt. And so the government's in there trying to push and trying to get people to join. And so the government ends up coming to their town as they get back from hunting, and he says, "What are you doing here? Get the hell out. We don't want you here." And then, they're talking about joining. Maybe we should join. There's not enough food. Nothing we can do. And the leaders trying to say, no, hold on. We're going to make it through this. And the main character, Clem, this is her little brother, is Owen. And he has like a little iPod thing. And she catches him with it. She goes, Dad's not going to be happy that you have this technology. And now he's teetering on the edge of going to like this city because of all of this cool stuff. But because of the altercation they had earlier, telling him to get the hell out of the town, they end up getting attacked by these future soldiers, and a whole bunch of people get killed. I'm not going to say who does get killed, but overall, I mean,
go ahead and say it.
Go ahead and say it. Well, her little brother gets his chest blown out by a gun, and so now she's having to bury all her family and stuff like that. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff here to her diary and everything, but. Like I said, it's a very social view or different views on the political aspects. That's what I caught from it. Maybe this because it's everywhere. Political climate is everywhere. Talking about what's good for us as a nation. Is it socialism? Is it more of a free government, or less government situation? That's what I took away from that. I'll buy issue 2. I'll see what it's like. I'll see what it's going to do because she's going for revenge because all her family's is dead. So now she's going to head into the big city to figure out who caused this, who killed her family. So, I'll pick up issue 2. So that's a stash for me, for sure.
Cool. That's great. Great review.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take a nap.
You don't like it? You don't want to pick it up?
I saw the synopsis on it. Like, I'll just be frank and honest. I saw the synopsis on it, and I was like, "Yeah, this is one of those books you can predict." So I was
Yeah.
like, no.
Yeah.
But then I was hit with another book, so we'll just roll right into that one. Just go ahead and roll. So I picked up Billionaire Island. Did you pick this up?
I did not.
Okay, so I'll talk about this one. This Billionaire Island. It came out from Ahoy Comics. Who wrote? What publisher had your comic book?
That was Aftershock.
That was after. All right, so this one comes from Ahoy, the makers of Second Coming and all that other great stuff. So this is whimsical fantasy for poor people.
Oh, really?
So basically what happens is because all the rich people are super corrupt and climate change has started happening, all the billionaires decide that, well, okay, we're just going to go live on this magical island that floats around the ocean. Apparently there was something where some guy owned I don't know why everybody hates GMO food. Like, I don't, like, legitimately the guy that structured GMO food should be getting the Nobel Peace Prize, but everybody hates GMO. Well, anyway, this company makes GMO food, and not only to help feed people, but they came up with this dastardly idea of making it to where it would make people sterile as well. So then they practice it in Angola. I don't know what's going on in Angola, but this is the third comic book I've read from Ahoy where they mention Angola.
Maybe they don't like it.
I'm like, do y'all even know where Angola is? Like, I'm seriously wondering. Anyway, it's the third time they mentioned it in their publishing run. Whatever. So apparently it made some people sterile, and apparently if you had a certain defect in a gene, it would also make you get very sick and die. And we had somebody who suffered from that. I don't want to take, even from a fictional character, I don't want to see somebody's family die. So that really hits you in here. Like, that was a very powerful scene in here. Even for a minute, I was like, damn, that's rough. I'd be killing people. So next thing you know, he's running in and he's killing the corporation people. Come to find out, he sold it to the guy that made the island that's bringing rich people out there. You can get away with tax evasion. You can get away with pretty much anything you want because they're rich and yada, yada, yada. Okay, I get it. All right. People get upset. People hate rich people. But then while I was sitting there thinking about it, and the very next day, I got to go teach a class, and what was it that next week? How basically I'm teaching entrepreneurs how to make more money in their pocket.
Capitalism.
Right now, I'm teaching that, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm like, well, okay, if we start teaching people how to make more money, and then a few of them got a little into the billionaire market or the millionaire market, how long would it be until, like, we all hated that person? So is it and I've seriously been contemplating this lately, is it a status thing that we hate, or is it the actual people that run these corporations? Like, I've had tons of arguments with people that hate the guy that made GMO food. And I don't think people understand that the guy who made and engineered it doesn't actually own the companies. He gave that stuff away for free to help feed the world. And this guy gets death threats. So I'm like, okay. So then I'm thinking, okay, what kind of people would live on this island that get to avoid all the climate change and all this other stuff? And this is where comic books can kind of bring you out of yourself, I guess, is the best way to put it. Not so much make you smarter in this sense, but to get you thinking. Because if you read the comic book for face value, rich people are dicks. They deserve to die. But in this, we do, the rich people is a dick. And there is a guy who's going to go and he's going to try to kill him, whatever the case may be. But honestly, at the end of the day, like, does anybody hate Bill Gates? He's a billionaire. He gets all the tax stuff and all the myths and everything. Technically, he would be in that category. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting comic book, and this is why I like comic books, because every now and then I'm like, okay, what is this writer trying to say to me? Because that's all you're really reading when you read a comic book. You're reading somebody's thoughts on a particular subject, and they're making it extreme to entice you. But then again, at the end of the day, what are their beliefs? You kind of start getting hints of that, and that kind of happened in here for me. I'm not mad at the comic book. I'm going to pick up issue 2 because the guy that's going to go drop bodies on the island, he's kind of badass. I kind of like it, and I want to see some more action. And there's some whimsical fun that happens in here too. That's great too. But at the end of the day, I'm sitting here reading the comic book, and I'm like, okay, at what point in society did all of a sudden we legitimately had a problem with the Russians again? Did we start hating the rich? Mind you, the rich that donate money to build hospitals, that donate, their entropy happens through billionaires and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, it's an interesting. You get some perspectives. I'm kind of interested when I go out to Seattle to hear people's perspectives about things. And anybody who's been to a Comic-Con with me, especially with Drew Manchu around, I don't have any problems with arguing with people in public. So I'm kind of interested in what happens. Interesting concept.
To the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest, and deal with a whole bunch of people who disagree with you politically.
You know what? The last time I was at the Pacific Northwest, I was stationed at Fort Lewis. And I'll be honest with you, back then it was starting to kind of turn into that very, I don't know, I guess it would be new way of thinking. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I remember going down to Seattle, and if you didn't drink whiskey, if you didn't drink beer and chase it with a whiskey, you were a vagina and everybody made fun of you. Now I'm hearing that that's not the case anymore. It's like, oh.
We have Gore Vidal in here. He said initially didn't like the first Mr. Miracle issue because King portrayed Scott, Free, and Barda as a typical middle-aged couple, just like in Division. Both worked it out in the end, and I think Strange Adventures will too. So he's got to hold out and kind of read that and see what he thinks of it.
One of those deep thinkers, man. Yeah. I don't know if you checked out his show, but he's kind of a. And I'll tell you what, if he leaves a comment on your YouTube page, like he puts thought, like I feel bad sometimes because I'm like, yeah, good point. And I'm like, I don't know where to go because it was a legit good point. I'm like, he'll write you 3 paragraphs, and you're like, yep. Like, it's my monkey brain.
Nothing I can say back. You nailed it all. My next book, I know you talked about and you raved about it. At least I think that's what you said in your video. And pardon my French, I don't know what the fuck this was. That was King of Nowhere. This was.
Oh my God! You didn't get this? Oh,
I did not like it at all. Here we got a guy who's thinking he's has illusion, or he's having a dream, and he's like, okay, fine, I'll buy you a drink to this fish guy at the bar. The fish guy at the bar gets beaten up by a 6-armed man outside. He gets pulled by the police to go fight these big iguanas that are coming through this hole. And I'm just like, what the hell is this? This is garbage, I thought.
Oh my God, you get off.
And then we have Tyler Jenkins, which is the same artist on Black Badge. His art in there was okay. I didn't like it. It wasn't great, but it was okay. But this, he must have been drunk the entire time he did it. Because
no, he wasn't drunk. Oh my God.
This is a little blast for me. No way. Sorry. Joe, I'll let you take it over because there's nothing good I could say about it.
First, you need to keep reading this book. Look, just trust me on this. All right. So if nobody knows anything about this particular, you didn't read it, I'm going to tell you right now, if you've ever watched the show Midnight Texas.
Nope.
All right. It was I want to say it was an NBC show. I know it was on Hulu for a little bit. It may still be there. My wife turned me on to it. So basically you have this town, if you will, and everybody there is for lack of a better word, a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in this particular town, you had vampires and all this other stuff, right? Okay. So you had this stuff. So this is that kind of concept. There's a safe place, if you will, for all these abnormal beings.
Okay.
And even in Midnight Texas, the sheriff was like a regular guy, just to make sure everybody was legit. We kind of saw some of that in here. And then we kind of had this kind of out of nowhere, this country for old men scenario happen. Instead of using an air compressed gun, the guy has a nail gun that's compressed, shooting people. And the iguana thing, I thought that was interesting. It definitely brings us in. It makes sense in a desert setting that there's some existential oversized threat out there in the desert, right? Because deserts are vast. I liked that concept of it. I like the fact that the guy woke up not knowing where he was. And this is a guy that gets drunk, uses drug use very heavily. He's very equipped to handle himself when he's in these situations like LSD, and he knows he's having a back trip on it. And so I've never done LSD or an illegal drug in my entire life. However, I know people that have, and they're like, yeah, sometimes you just got to ride it. You just ride, you ride the trip. And that's all he's doing. He says that. I'm just riding this trip through, get myself a beer. When I come down, I'll find my way home. Why can't I ever wake up in a bed? Why can't I ever, like, he's questioning his life decisions in that sense. I thought that was just brilliantly done. And granted, a little bit more explanation probably should have happened. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. So you kind of have to read into it a little bit. And I know that's annoying in a comic book. Like, if this was a show, it would have made sense. But this is like Midnight Texas and Twilight Zone just kind of meshing up together in this very weird way. And I'm kind of on board with it. Like, I'm legit, when I read this, I was like, oh my God. Because, what if I was hallucinating one day? What would I do? I'm not an over-exaggerator by no means. I will always try to be myself and try to maintain some sort of stability of normal until I try to figure out where I'm at instead of just wigging out, because wigging out doesn't get you anywhere. I thought it was brilliantly done, and I think we are on board for a great, great story. Look, this is something they can do something with later, I'm sure. If they don't, if nothing else, I think you're going to read a good story with some ridiculous shit every now and then. But just to capture the people's attention, sometimes you need to do something ridiculous, and I thought this was smartly written that way.
Apparently, I am in the minority when it comes to this, because Mango Bad said he loved King of Nowhere. Knockout Comics said, I'm too slow for a comic like this. I get confused. Maybe we're in the same team over there. Yeah, I enjoyed Midnight Texas on NBC for 2 seasons. I liked it, so I got this book and liked it, and it was a stash for me. And it's like a Midnight Texas meets Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah, if it was actual drug use, I would go with that too. Yeah. Oh, Gore Vidal says Maxwell Prince, who writes Brilliant Ice Cream Man and Chance with this new Nightmare King of Nowhere. And like Joe, I also like the No Country for Old Men kind of cliffhanger. I thought that was ingenious. I really did.
Well, do you want to bring us into something else that
However, one other point, I don't like art in this. I'm not a fan of this particular art styling. So I'm reading it strictly for story. I should say that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like I said, it was full page to page, corner to corner stuff going on, not your typical, 6 or 9 panel layout. And I'm like, dude, what the hell, man? And I guess, like, from what you're explaining there, it having that wild no panel layout, it brings you more to the story if it is like an LSD trip or this really world kind of buildings crazy place. So I guess that does read into the story too. So
yeah, issue 2 may kind of straighten it out and put it more back into a comic. That would be unheard of in a comic book format that they do something like that. But at this point right now, I don't really care. Like I can read past the art, right? I can just read right past it. So yeah, definitely give me the story. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What's your next book?
No, you're up. Your next book. I brought.
I talked a long time on that. Why don't you go ahead and hit us with another one?
Okay, where is it?
I did eat a lot of time on that one. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm trying to find my next book. Another confusing book this week by Action Lab, Danger Zone, The Argus. You know, like you brought up in your channel, The One. I never have seen that movie. I know the synopsis behind it. He's multiple dimensions, and the one character trying to kill all of them. So, and that's what happens here. Is this kid? I think he's a kid. He's calling for mom, so he must be like 18 or whatever. That he invents this thing to be able to do dimension hopping and some kind of uses brain like that. Also, bam, all
theory of it,
yeah, all his older selves are from different dimensions, pop in and pull him in, saying, "Hey, we need to protect you, need to save you." Because you got one of you that's bad, that's run through dimensions and killing everybody. And so it was an interesting book. I was thinking Time Cop a lot with it too, but they're not going back and committing heists. They're going back to try to save essentially they number themselves. They don't name them because they're all the same name. They go by 86 or 92 or 14.
Yeah.
Very limited palette color on this. Greens, tans, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red, not much.
Again, another art styling I'm not a fan of. It just seems lazy.
The bad guy, the bad character, looks kind of like Loki to some degree, long, kind of greasy hair, you know. What I don't get toward the end there, when he finally catches up with them, where they're hiding, or that safe space where they were, where they couldn't dimension hop into, he ends up slicing that one of the main characters in the side, but when he pops through the next dimension, he's not bleeding anymore. He's not even cut. I don't know what's going on with that. But kind of a confusing book. It can get really confusing, I think, if you do too many twists and turns with it. Overall, it was okay. I could see as a movie, like they talk about The One, but other than that, I'm not picking up issue 2 on Argus. It's not horrible. This is not something I'm going to be picking up.
The mental gymnastics that it takes to get through this book was enough to kind of make me go, well, interesting. Like I kept wanting this to work, and I was forcing it to work. And I don't. And now that I think about it, even after my video, I may want to go back and redact it. I was like, okay, every time that you try to use some trope from time travel, you tried to misexplain it in here, but your misexplaining did not make sense to begin with, because the simplest answer is always the best answer, and it still would have worked. So, like, why not just go back and kill the guy? Well, we can't do it because of certain rules and your own theory that you came up with that you don't even realize yet. And I was like, wait, I'm losing you. Like, me as the reader, I'm losing you. Just keep with the trope. Like, to some degree, keep with the trope, or do what they did in Avengers, where they wanted to explain time travel and go, look, you can't explain it totally. Sometimes bad things happen. Like, we don't understand it. We're just doing it. That would have been cooler. If they played that game, that would have been cooler. But they spent way too much time trying to explain why this works, why that doesn't work, why this works, why that doesn't work, why the special room is void of the rules. That still doesn't make sense to me. There's no connectivity in this book to their world. And with that said, I find myself focused more on that than I do the story. And I'm not like a time nerd or anything like that, but I'm like, so what are the rules? And this is why I always tell readers, and why I try to remind myself when I write things. Create the rules and follow the rules in your own universe, in your own world. And if you have to constantly explain them and people aren't getting them, then you got a bad story. So just rewrite the story. Like, just rewrite it and make it make sense. And the sad thing is, this is a great idea. I like the concept of it. I like how it's slightly different than The One. If you remember the Jet Li movie, The One, it's slightly different. It's like a flip on it, right? Instead of everybody trying to survive, they're actually a group of them are the good guys trying to stop it to happen. I think that's interesting. I'll go with that. But because we spent so much time trying to explain the rules of this, we didn't really understand or like, why does this one look this way? Why does this one look this way? What's the difference between these characters? because we know they're not the same person. They're the same person in different parallel universes. So why is this guy like it just this thing raised more questions than it did tell me a story. And I was like, and it's not even a mystery. Like this isn't a mystery book. Everything's happening to you right there. And I was like, okay, I'm done. So unfortunately, I don't want it to be. I'll probably still pick up issue 2 if it's at the comic book store. Like I'm not ordering it. I'm not paying shipping on it. But if it's at the comic book store, I may pick up issue 2. But for right now, this is a blast for me.
Good,
oh, by the way, I forgot to say this. King of Nowhere is my pick of the week, by the way.
Just is it? Really? We got just about 10 minutes to go before we go into lightning round. We probably should talk about Batman number 90. That was a really good issue. So we get a little more backstory on the designer. I made a note in my book. I flipped through it again tonight and read through it, and stupidly I caught, hey, the designer gave the Catwoman the D.
The D.
The D. She got the D from the designer. So, yeah, this was good because we're getting the old villains back from Batman. We got Riddler, we got Penguin, we got Joker, we got Catwoman. All 4 of them are headed to what? Go.
We legitimately have my favorite villain. I don't think most people know this, but the Riddler is my favorite all time. Like I like him better than the Joker. The Riddler is my favorite villain.
So they all get this invitation. They all think they're individually, invited to this place, but then they realize, oh wait, there are 4 of us here. And the designer talks about his history, about how the detective was always one step ahead of him. He can never get anything done because the detective will always cut him off. So he says, okay, I don't need to go 1 step. I need to go 15 steps ahead. I need to stop and try to think and figure, how am I going to get 15 steps ahead? And he takes a whole year to figure that out. And we find out the detective that was stopping him at every single turn got this totally, essentially, professionally decimated because he couldn't do it. And he became a nobody, essentially, because he couldn't stop this character from committing crimes or whatever he was doing. And so he's talking to each one of these characters, the Catwoman, Joker, Riddler, Penguin, individually, and talking about, hey, what do you want to do? Let's think bigger. Let's move bigger into a bigger crime. And so he talks to all 4 of them, Joker the last and Joker the longest too. And when he comes out, he's saying kill them all, and he's trying to get his little goons, or like the fairy people or zombie people, to kill him. But Joker says, "Oops, I guess I had a gun with me still," and kills the designer. But to me, if I look at it beyond that, so they talk about burning the house down where they were. We were never here. The designer's still a myth. We're not going to acknowledge that we've actually met him. But I think this all plays into Joker's big plan and designer's plan, maybe to work together. Like, hey, no, you're going to kill me, or you're going to pretend to kill me, or whatever, to make your plan come through so I can help take over the city. And I think that's what it is. But I don't know. But it was overall great. I loved it. The art was still goodness. I love who was the artist on this? I can never pronounce his name. Jorge Jimenez. Yeah. So this was still a stash for me. Definitely, it was good issue. What about you, Joe?
Oh my God, so good. Such a good book. I like this whole designer thing. I'm really enjoying it. No, I did not like when Jim Carrey played the Riddler. I don't think he did a very good job of that. Good point. But anyway, back to my thought. So I think this is very smart. I want to know who. See, this is one of those comic books that makes you want to dive deeper into it because they mention some things, but they don't explain it. And now you're super curious, right? So in the book, we had the designer fighting some guy on a train, right, with swords. And it seemed very kind of golden age, early silver age. So I'm starting to wonder if maybe the designer isn't a character from, like, we already know who the character is. He's already in comic book lore in some way, shape, or form. I hope they do that because that would be cool. Um, I love this issue. I thought it was great. I like very complex plans that kind of get pieced together and take us down a road as they go together. I hope the designer doesn't turn out to be the Joker and he's whimsically doing something. I hope that's not it. But I do. The amount of excitement that I have when a Batman comic book comes out now, it's like before I felt like it was something I had to read. Now it's something I will punch you in the mouth if I don't have one. Like it's that bad, right? This is so brilliantly done. And they're not spending a whole lot of time explaining to us why the zombies happen. We're not dealing with people's interpersonal problems. We have an existential crisis. We have somebody that's slightly smarter than our hero. So now our hero has to redefine. And that whole concept of just be several steps ahead of the person following you, that's business coaching, productivity development, Q&A, R&D. That's just a common concept that's been thrown out there, but it's never really been addressed in comic books, right? It's steal a bank. Once you steal a bank, what do you do next? And like everything has this very linear plan to it. And this guy's like, okay, so I steal the bank. Let's knock over Fort Knox. Like just out of nowhere. Just go do that. Go to that next level so they can't put a plan together. And I liked that thinking. I thought it was smart. Where this cat, yeah, this guy. Oh my God! Thank God this guy picked up this book. So legitimately good and comic booky that is you can't help but you can't read this and hate it. I'm sorry if you do. Like I don't know what to tell you, man. Like I think you're missing the point of a good Batman story, and this is doing it. It's giving everybody what they want. They want to see their classic characters. They want to see twists and turns. They want to see the impossible. They want to see just great dialogue, and that's happening. We're getting that now, and it's brilliant. Um, Knocks out comic says, I can't wait for Punchline. I'm kind of okay with the whole Punchline thing. I'm probably not on board with it as much as other people are. I'm excited. That's cool. We got another female character who's kind of taking the role of Harley Quinn, as far as I can tell, back when Harley Quinn was, digestible. Um, so, but my fear is what are they going to do once the character becomes mainstream? Because they can ruin it within a couple of pages. So, yeah.
Yeah, and another thing in this Batman book, too, we reveal why Catwoman didn't want to explain to Bruce what her plan was or what the whole thing was, because at that time they were not dating or not a thing. And her plan was essentially rip off the entire Wayne fortune.
Yeah.
Because that was her grand scheme. Now, there's a lot of hype behind this book. I think 90s, the cover B is going for like $25, cover A is going for 15. The one before it, that with that misprint, that's going for 300. Now, if they reveal this is actually a character that's already been around, similar to like say what they did with Hush, the value of the book is going to plummet completely. And so all the people specking on the book are just going to go, oh shit, should have sold it when it was $300.
And I can only say this because I've been doing some writing lately, and I've done some writing in the past. And I'm sitting here, and I was like, I don't worry about when I write something. I don't worry about what's going to happen as I'm telling my story, because I'm writing my story at one time, and then it gets chopped, right?
Mm.
So if that's going to end up being the case, it's not the writer's fault. Hell, that's not even DC's fault at that point. It's a bunch of people. I think sometimes people forget what the word speculation means. It just means basically you're taking a very good guess.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimately, you're just taking a very good guess. And in this case, to say that you're making a good guess on a comic book, something that's based in comedy, the title's based in comedy, you kind of need to kind of scruple over it just twice instead of just once.
Okay.
Orville's got a comment. He says Batman has sold out at local comic book shops since Punchline comic book. Yeah, everybody's jumping. I want it to be so bad, not just to be the punchline thing. Because I think it's legitimately a good story. But if the punchline kind of pushes that forward, she hasn't really done much, has she?
I don't think so.
Has
I
she had
didn't
any
read
real
that
dialogue or
Villains
anything?
3 or whatever it was. I
Yeah,
have it, but I didn't read it.
I haven't been able to get the last 2 issues, but I like what he's doing with the comic book. It's a great comic book. I missed Year of the Villains when it came out because like everybody rushed the store, and I always told my comic book shop guy, "Hey, I don't do pull lists because if somebody really needs the book that much worse than me, by all means let them have it. I'll come in there and I get whatever I can, and I can order online. That's not a problem." So I missed my Year of the Villains, and I read Year of the Villains. I love villain stories, and I missed it. And now apparently they're saying that technically that's a cameo appearance too of Punchline. They like flipped the script on that as well. So again, it is what it is. Just if you like the story, definitely get the second print. If you're chasing and speculating, which I'm not above a little speculation and sell comic books, definitely.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and jump into lightning round. I'll go to start off. So we have, I guess it's Goon number 9, but it is part of a new miniseries within the Goon storyline. We got the Witch's Brew. We got these witches that are brewing this beer that are coming into town, and they're competing with the German fish that have been selling their fish stuff forever. But they initially drove the witches out. So now there's this dispute. I do love the fact that the union dock worker, if he doesn't get sauced up, he becomes this big honking monster, almost opposite of what happens when somebody is sauced. Some people sauced up, they get really violent. He's violent if he doesn't have his liquor. That was cool. Twin Worlds by Action Labs. I don't know if you read this. This is a cross between D&D and Halo. We got this world with their elven and dragons, and these newer different dimension coming in wearing like Halo kind of outfits, Halo tanks, and that kind of stuff. Interesting, but I'm not picking up issue 2. Marvel. This is just a couple stories. One with Spider-Man and Rhino, and how Mary Jane doesn't want him to spend money on web fluid. I don't know what the hell's going on in this book, but it has Nightmare in there. And apparently he's taken over somehow with Doctor Strange, has him captive. Flash 750. I didn't even freaking read this book, and I don't know why I bought it. I buy him because this was a which cover is this? I forgot who the artist is on that. I bought the one, but I didn't even freaking read it. I can't believe that. And Marauders number 9, I'm going to stop at issue 10. Usually, if it's good, the first few books, I'll pick it up until about issue 10. But I'm kind of at a point where I'm dropping it. I do like the fact that Pyro's not dead, but he exploded because of Yellow Jacket was inside him and a large.
He didn't die though.
He didn't die though. No, he didn't. That was like
a memory thing.
Yeah. But still, that was like, holy crap! He just blow Pyro up. But no, he was still alive. But I'm stopping at issue 10 with this one. And I did pick up this. It is a facsimile of Mysteries in Space with Adam Strange. Pick up that, maybe just try to give that a read and see if I get a little more insight on who Adam Strange is.
Definitely check that issue out. It's actually pretty good.
I think that is it. I did pick up the cover B on Batman. I got that. But that's all for my lightning round. I did other couple issues. I did pick up Walking Dead Alien. You ever see this? This is a local comic book day book. I found this at another comic store, and Absolute Carnage, a variant for that one too. So that's my lightning round. I'm sticking to it.
All right, I got a lot to go through, so y'all brace this down. I'm going to do this as fast as I can. Leave comments down below. We'll catch up with you. All right, so Goon, read that as well. Huge Goon fan. This actually takes place with a lot of the old school Goon stuff in it, especially at the docks with how the gremlins work down there. If they're not drunk and sauced up, they turn into monsters. This was kind of done right around the time as Gizmo, which nobody cared about. Queen of the Black Coast. This is basically a retelling of Bellet and Conan and how they met up. Way heavily narrated. A lot of narration in this, very little dialogue. So the reading was kind of not interactive, so you can kind of get lost in it. Nevertheless, very racist. A lot of sexy going on in here. They're bringing sexy back in this Joker. Let's see here. Oh, the Crow is coming back out, and he's got amnesia, and he is working for a carnival as a man that experiences no pain, and it's actually really freaking good. Oh my god! Like I used to read Crow comic books, and I was like, Jesus Christ, a goth kid wants to say words. Like that's how I found it. But this actually came out pretty good, pretty whimsical. I'm going to continue this. This is a hard stash. This is the Crow Lefebvre. Going into DC, I also read Flash number 750. 750 issues of the Flash. That's actually incorrect. But regardless, we do whatever we want to do with numbers now. Basically, this takes a modern spin on all the modern Flashes out there and says, what if this, what if that, why not this? And nobody cared. Let's see here. Marvel. You got 3 stories in here. The overarching story is that Nightmare has captured Doctor Strange, and he's showing Doctor Strange different nightmares and dreams of people. That was the whole point of this book right here. None of it was actually true. It was all what's going on in their concerns, if not nightmares. So Peter Parker being worried about the web fluid running out and how much it cost. That's something he stresses over, therefore he has a nightmare about it. A lot of stories like that in here. I have to agree, though, halfway through this, I got very, very bored with this. Let's see. Villains. Hey, what happens when Superman revealed himself as Clark Kent to everybody? All the villains lost their minds, apparently, and we still got to find out what happened at the Daily Bugle, like anybody cares. The only interesting thing that happened in here that I found truly interesting, and it was done in the most cartoony way to make you blow over it, which pissed me off, was the fact that Bizarro saw it on television, and Bizarro basically ended with the, whoa. You want to talk about somebody with an existential identity crisis, it would be Bizarro because he thinks he's Superman. Now he finds out that he's actually Clark Kent. How does that work out for him? I thought they should have dug a little deeper into that story. Instead, they made it a cartoon and a joke instead of going into existential identity crisis. And the rest of it was stupid. Like, we literally watched Lex Luthor lose, like, he had a temper tantrum in it. That was it. So the guy that legitimately based himself off of Superman went, oh. So, yeah. Could have done more with that one. Good job, DC. Dark Angus. I met the writer of this book, and she kind of gave me a little bit of a preview of what's happening in the future with this book. And it's basically based off of Howard E.'s novel, The Swords, right? I know this is not something that everybody reads, but it is good stuff. It's not a superhero story. It is a Three Musketeer story with a redheaded Irish woman that's angry at everybody, which makes it just a little cooler.
That's typical Irish behavior, though, isn't it? Who's the writer on that one? On the Dark Angus?
I'm going to mispronounce it because luckily I didn't say it to her. Basically, the entire story is off of Robert E. Howard's book, Dark Angus or the Swordswoman, but her name is Calhoun. Calhoun.
Oh, okay. I was thinking
Cloonon.
Okay. I will try to make you say the first name if it's difficult, because I have a hard time with names too.
Finally finish this up, and thank God. This is Spider-Verse. Yeah, they kind of missed the mark on this one. So basically, the Web of Destiny's tangled at a point. Apparently, they don't know how webs work, but whatever. And the person that's responsible for it's trapped inside. She's super weak and can't get out. So Miles Morales has to jump down in through there while some girl sits there and talks to it because the tangle became alive. If it sounds ridiculous, I'm just getting started. So as Miles Morales goes down there and pulls this weak woman out of there, all she's like, I don't need no man. She's in charge and she's blasting everything away. By the way, the web got so scared it randomly brought in villains from another world.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah, that's what happens when you run out of ideas. All right. Marauders. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, slow issue. Not really much to say in this. This is mostly just generation. Did I make any notes on this book? I'm pretty sure I did. Maybe not, because it was just that cool cover. This is how important this book was to me. I legitimately forgot about it. Where's it at? All right, so Yellow Jacket finally pops out because of his spy mission. They had a really cool story going on there, but what ended up happening is Emma Frost found his mind in there and said, "Yep, no, I'm going to make this hallucination happen." So the hallucination happened, and stupid stuff happened, and nobody cared because it was all fake. And I hate it when they go through those tropes to shortcut a story. The truth is, that was the better story. Now we're on this. Well, what does everybody think about Kitty dying and possibly being reborn? Blah, 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 blah. Mind games. Thank you, Marvel. All right, so my second favoriteest book of the week. I'm not even shitting you. Spider-Man Noir. I'm surprised you didn't pick this up.
No, I didn't. Didn't this have a Spider-Man Noir book?
Yeah, well, they had one that was a tie-in for the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
And then they launched his own little mini-series. And I'm going to tell you right now, oh, God, I so want to promote the book, but I want to be fair and genuine at the same time. So I'm going to start off with this. I have a personal affection towards Spider-Man Noir, right? So just to kind of give you the feel of this book, I'm gonna read my notes for you. There was a murder, you see. A dame was laid cold, and now the gumshoe himself, Peter Parker's got to figure it out.
Very like a 40s gangster.
Oh, this is awesome. I love it. The dialogue is so spot on this. It is ridiculous. And apparently it's right before World War II. So he's got to go over to Germany because another museum scientist person doesn't really freaking matter. We got an Indiana Jones story on our hand with a mystery story on top of it. I love it. It is awesome. You see, it's awesome. Definitely. Oh my God. Go back to your stores and get this book. And the art in here, holy crap. Somebody took their time. Somebody took their time and thought about what people are actually going to look at in a comic book, and they made an effort, and I will eat that up all day long. It's a beautiful book. I love the dialogue in it. It may not be your kind of story, but I promise you, if you're a comic book enthusiast, you'll like issue 1. Definitely check it out. What do we got going on in the chat?
Gore Vidal says, Joe, if you enjoyed Agnes, I'd recommend Robert E. Howard's The Sword Woman, the first Agnes story you wrote, found in second book of Robert E. Howard paperback.
It's the exact same story. Yes, I've read that book. It's the same character, same everything, just takes her on different adventures. It's great.
And he said Mercy, King of Nowhere, and Daredevil were his picks of the week.
Oh, yeah. Daredevil was okay.
And Double S says, very nice, Joey. LOL. And he's LOLing over there in Texas. I didn't know they LOL over there. I think they do. Okay, so that's going to go on and wrap it up this week. Do you have anything before we get out of here, Joe? You want to talk about?
Double S one more time says, if I pick up this book, I'll have that voice in my head when I read it. You should, because the dialogue is, I swear to God, I love good dialogue. That whoever did this, they've done their research. You're gonna get the dialogue in your head because it's written right there. It's beautiful. But as far as anything else goes, hey guys, I'm going to Seattle. I know Emerald City Comic Con was canceled, but that doesn't mean that we can't still meet and hang out and do things. So what I'm doing, I decided to do something a little special. As some people know, I've been writing my own comic book. So if you're coming to Seattle, I will give you the very first sticker of my superhero. I'm not keeping that up there very long. Horribly cut, very rough cut. but just as a thank you for coming out and meeting with us. So if you're in the area, you couldn't refund your tickets, or if you just live in Washington and you want to come over and maybe grab some drinks and hang out with us, definitely. I've already been calling up some people that I know out that way to see about doing some things out there. We're working on some surprises. So if you want to know, you want to be in the know, you got to show up.
Yep. I'm headed out there too. At first, I was like, "Oh man, it got canceled." I said, "Joe, can we get a refund on the Airbnb?" And he's like, "Nope." I'm
Not
like,
a week, not less than a week out. Yeah, no, it's not gonna happen.
and then I already bought my plane ticket. I'm like, "Man, I'm out the money," and I wasn't even going to go. And he said, "No, I'm still coming out." And I said, "Okay, I'm going." Because as soon as I found it out, I'm like, "Yep. Well, I'm going to get a tattoo tomorrow." That was my plan. As soon as I found out the con got canceled, I'm like, "Okay, I got an extra $600. I'm gonna go get a tattoo." But since we're still going, I got money to spend. We're going to Emerald City. We're going to go to the Pop Culture Museum. At least that was the plan. Maybe going there, checking out a few comic book stores. I got a few already saved in my maps, to check out. But if you know any great comic book stores or little honey holes where comics are in the Seattle area, let us know too. That'd be great to be able to go dig around and find some good books. And we're talking about going live a few times from Seattle as well.
Also, should we go ahead and do a Blaster or Stash It comic book review while we're there? We're on a plane. You can bleed through some comic books really quick.
Well, I won't have time to pick up any of my books, though.
Well, I pick mine up on because I'm rich and I do what I want. I pick mine up Tuesday night.
Oh, I might be able to talk in one of my comic stores that letting me do that. I don't know if they will.
You know what? I bet you we can go to a comic book store. We pick up a couple of books. We can just go ahead and do a Blaster and Stash It right there.
And I know we're talking about maybe doing some other stuff. We're talking about doing a 30 for 30. You were talking about that. And maybe I might try to do the same thing. We'll do a joint 30 for 30 show as well. Again, too, yesterday we did the G.I. Joe action figure line. We talked about our top 10 action figures.
Exactly.
We're looking to add in, I think, Master of the Universe is the next episode. I'm not going to be doing it every week. Maybe once a month we'll do one of those. Because, you can get them all done like you do one every week and you run out of topics really quick. Or, you could probably start to pick some other stuff up, but definitely probably like once a month just to kind of keep it fresh and do that. So definitely come by and check those out when we got those up. Patreon, Teespring, all that good stuff we talked about at the beginning of the show. Make sure you go check it out. All the links are below. And if you do want to get a hold of us, our social media is down below to your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Let us know if you're going to be in Seattle, or we'll go hang out, grab a drink, talk comics, shoot the shit. All right. I think we're going.
I got another auction going.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I just launched another auction and I'll just put the name in here so people can look it up. It's the People's Online Auction. And this one's kind of unique because it's all key issues, minor key issues, popular covers, classic covers. Basically, if you can look this stuff up on Key Collector app, it's in this auction. Plus, there's also about 37 pops in there too. I picked up another estate sale, so I wanted to get that out to the people as possible. All bids start off at $1. Pay what you want to get the comic books you want in your stash. Definitely complete those runs, guys. Trust me, you'll see some value in this. It's People's Online Auction. It's the only comic book and pop one. Have fun. Don't overpay. That's not the point of this. The point is to get all that stuff that you see on Comic Tom and everywhere else to get it out to you at an affordable price. So definitely take advantage of this.
Okay, so whether you blast it, whether it's actually happy reading, and we'll see you guys this weekend from Seattle. Later.